So today I'm joined at 216 Dune Road with Michele LaGrassa from Heller and Consultants, which is an incredible tax grievance company that operates here on Long Island in both Suffolk and Nassau County. So I thought with most of the people that we're working with, of course, they have homes or they have multiple homes, and taxes are always a huge issue.
Yes.
So we want to be able to, I know that when I first bought my home, I had no idea about grieving my taxes, what was involved, that it could even be done. So take me back to, well, first tell us a little bit about your company and how long you've been doing it.
Yeah, so I've been doing this. I work strictly with real estate agents and everyone in the real estate industry. I've been doing it for about 8 years now, and my position and what I do for the company is really help agents with their listings, help buyers. And as you said, a lot of people purchase homes and they might, love a property and they might think that it's the right price range, and then they see the tax bill and say, oh, yeah. So that's where I come in, and people can call me, agents call me all the time, and I can take a look at the property, let them know if there's, the ability to reduce the tax bill and how much we can reduce it. And
so what is that process? So you're going to look at a property, and how do you guys figure out whether or not you would be able to grieve the taxes?
Yeah, great question. So we'll look at what the current property assessment is. There is some information on public record. It's not always accurate. Sometimes it's close to accurate, but not exactly accurate. So we do have some ratios and numbers that come down every year from New York State, and they're based on the sales in an entire township. So if you're looking at a township, and especially one that's large, say like the town of Brookhaven, large township, there could be a big disparity between the values of homes in different areas, one on different shores, and so everyone is assigned the same ratio from New York State based on the sales in that town. So we now have to really go property by property to make the correction to the assessment. So we use those numbers from New York State. We can take a look and see what the property is actually being taxed at, and then based on either what it's being sold for and purchased for, we'll have an argument for a case that way. We want to argue the assessment should be what the home is really worth, and so it's worth what someone's willing to pay for it. And so that often is the basis for our argument. So I can be pretty accurate when I'm giving someone an estimate on a savings, and I'm conservative with the estimate. So I'd rather a buyer be happy with the results than disappointed that maybe they got less than they had expected initially. So
so I'm a homeowner. What's this going to cost me to grieve the taxes of my home?
Great question. So it doesn't cost anything up front. At least we don't charge anything up front, and I think industry-wide it's not really something that people pay up front for. It is something where the fee would be based on the savings and what we can save the homeowner. The process takes about a year, 12 to 18 months typically, depending on whether it's Nassau or Suffolk. We're grieving for different years, different tax years, and actually most homeowners in Suffolk County, if they are overassessed and we do win a reduction, they'll receive a refund of any overpayment, and we would then bill the homeowner half of the first year's savings. If we don't save them anything, there's no fee whatsoever. So it doesn't cost them anything unless we're actually saving them money.
That's good.
Yeah.
Now, what's the difference between if it's your primary residence, your secondary residence, if it's an income property? What are the
That's a terrific question, because a lot of people are investors. They own property that they rent, and they have been told somehow along the way that they cannot grieve the taxes on a rental property. That is not the case. We actually can grieve those taxes. It's a different process. It's handled more like a commercial grievance for an income producing property. And so if it's a residential rental, we would qualify it the same way we would qualify a residential primary residence, but the process of reducing the taxes would be different. And it does take a little bit longer, but it is retroactive from the time that that they accept the application. So again, it pays. It's the same thing. There's no fee unless we're saving money. So it pays for residentials also. We can grieve primary and rentals as a commercial property.
And secondary vacation properties?
Same thing. Well, vacation properties, we can grieve those as well. Sometimes it can be a little bit more challenging to prove that there is an overassessment, but we can do it.
Wow, that's that is interesting, because I do hear people say a lot of times, I can't grieve my taxes. It's not my primary residence. So that's very good to know. So let's say what's going to happen once the grievance process starts. Now, let's say that I've done some work to my house that I may not have filed everything with the town yet. Am I
Does
opening
that never
up?
happen?
Not at all. That never happens at all. We always file our permits and protocol and do everything by the book. But let's just say that somebody else did it, and I just happened to inherit the home.
Okay.
And is the town going to come over and start taking a look and kicking the tires a little bit?
So that's a really great question. A lot of people have that question. So typically when someone files a property tax grievance, no one is visiting the home. We do a desktop appraisal, so everything is done online. But there are situations where, let's say, a homeowner had applied for a permit for a piece of property to do some type of improvement, and they did the work, and maybe they never got a C of O for the completed project. In my experience, oftentimes the homeowner did not apply for a C of O because they thought they didn't want to see an increase in their tax bill. They thought once they get that C of O, they'll see an increase in the taxes. In reality, it's very common for the tax bill to actually be increased shortly, within months usually, of the permit even being applied for, even if the work hadn't been completed yet.
Really?
So many people are already being taxed on the improvement, they're just not aware of it. So they're not getting a C of O because they want to avoid a higher tax bill. Maybe they'll avoid filing a grievance then because they don't want their taxes, they don't want that permit to be caught, and meanwhile they're paying anyway, and they could have saved money by grieving the taxes. If there's an open permit and there's no C of O, it could potentially raise a flag, and the town might say, you have an open permit, we need to rectify this. Either get the C of O, or if you never made the improvement, let's close out the permit. And that's the case sometimes also. I did have an experience recently. A real estate agent had called me about a personal property, and he was really sharing his story, which was that he applied for several permits that would take years to complete, and the town immediately increased the taxes on all of the improvements, and he had to go down and say, will you please do it in increments, and that's what they wind up doing. But they taxed him right away on all improvements.
Wow.
So
now, have you ever seen the town make a mistake and then voluntarily reduce the taxes back, or do people typically have to go through the process?
You have to go through the process. So I've never heard that happen where the town realized they made a mistake. In Nassau County, they do reassess more regularly. They'll actually be reassessing the entire county in 2019, I believe.
Really? Okay.
In Suffolk County, they do not reassess. The township of Southampton does reassess every year. They're a smaller township, they can reassess every home. Other townships, they have to assess every single property. They can't just assess a few. So they don't reassess every year, they don't make corrections. The only way to correct an assessment is to file a grievance application with the town.
Okay. Now, what happens, I know, and I've heard this, I don't know if it's true or not, but I think I was reading it in the paper at some time last year. I think it was specifically talking about Nassau County, but is it true that if you don't grieve your property taxes, that your taxes are going to start going up at basically the same rate as other people's are coming down because they're trying to maintain a level stream of income that's coming in?
There is some truth to that, yes. If someone does not apply for a grievance, they are, in a sense, paying for the tax shortage that the people that did apply are receiving. So, yes, they are making up for the difference. So it pays to file a grievance,
Okay.
Yeah, grieve your taxes, absolutely.
What am I not asking? What question do you get that's...
The most common questions are a few that you've asked already, which are, will I get in trouble? Will anyone come to my house? They are, how much is it going to cost me? How long does it take? And we address some of those. The other question that we get often is taxes every year.
Okay.
There is a misconception where people think that they can only grieve every other year.
Okay.
There is a process where most applications, a lot of homeowners will try to grieve their taxes on their own, and they might receive a denial. Most do. Most property tax grievance applications are initially declined and denied by the town that they're filed with. There's another appeal process that usually has to be filed more than 90% of the time. We do need to appeal the case, and the burden of proof will lie on the homeowner to show cause as to why the taxes should be lower, or to the grievance company. When a grievance goes through this assessment review board, it's a special division of the small claims court, of the Supreme Court rather. they will not view the case again the following year.
Okay.
So if a homeowner applies the second year and they look at the application and they see that it was won in the small claims assessment review the prior year, they'll just put the application aside.
Okay.
But it does make sense because the timing of some deadlines, they might not know whether or not they won that case until after the deadline for the following year has passed.
Okay.
So they could potentially miss out on a year of savings if they don't submit an application again the
So
following
you put
year.
in the application just in case. If they listen to it, they listen to it. If they don't,
Right.
no harm, no foul.
Right. We
Okay.
recommend people fill out a grievance application every year. It doesn't cost anything to try.
Okay.
One thing that we do for real estate agents, which I feel is helpful often to buyers and sellers, is when we can pre-qualify a property for a grievance, we ask the seller to initiate the grievance process.
Okay.
It doesn't cost them anything to do that. We can transfer the application to a buyer at contract or at closing. I can then give the agent a letter that states that we're in the process of professionally grieving the taxes, what we estimate the reduction will be. They can then use that information on MLS. They can
Really?
use the letter
Okay.
to show potential buyers that the taxes are already in the process of being grieved, what we estimate the reduction will be. So when you find a buyer and they love the house and the price is right and they see the tax bill and get scared, you can say, no worries, they're already in the process of being grieved and this is what we estimate the reduction will be. So it's helpful often.
That sounds great. So between Suffolk and Nassau County, what are the schedules and the deadlines and the time frames that we're
Okay.
typically working with?
Right, so the deadline for Nassau County is March 1st every year.
Okay.
So we accept applications all year long. We work with people all year, but the applications have to be submitted to the county on that day. They do allow a few days prior,
Okay.
but before that, they won't even take an application.
Really?
Yes. So that's why it's a massive rush for that day. So we do work and we prepare the case all year long. We'll qualify a property, we'll prepare a desktop appraisal and build a case, but it doesn't get filed until just at the deadline, which is March 1st in Nassau County. In Suffolk County, it's always the third Tuesday in May.
Third Tuesday in May.
Right.
Okay.
So third Tuesday in May is when we can submit the application. Again, they'll accept it a few days before, but not many.
Okay.
And it begins there. I mentioned earlier, Suffolk County, we are grieving, currently it's for 2018, 2019.
Okay.
And so homeowners that paid, it's retroactive to the 2018 June tax bill.
Okay.
So they would receive a refund of any overpayment. In Nassau County, we grieve into the future. We're grieving 2019, 2020 currently.
Really? Okay.
Yes. So if someone's buying a home in Nassau County, they'll know that they'll be paying that current tax bill for the first year until 2019. That's when they would receive a reduced assessment.
Okay. And how does someone go about filing an application?
Great question. Simple application process. We accept them right on our website.
Okay.
And it takes about a minute for someone to complete an application. A lot of people think, I don't have my tax bill on me, I don't have the section block and lot, nothing. They put their name, the property address,
Okay.
and an electronic signature,
And that's it.
and that's it.
And then you guys take it from there.
And we take it from there, that's all. Simple process, they receive a notice, your application has been accepted, and that's it.
So let's say that you're considering, let's say you haven't, the house isn't yours yet, and you're thinking about buying a new home, and you're looking around and you say, yeah, you know what, the taxes are a little bit higher than what I wanted to be in this area. What can a potential home buyer do during that process?
Okay, so they can call me
Okay.
anytime. A lot of agents will give their homeowner, their buyers, my number, and I'll work with them directly. They can ask me about any of the properties that they're interested in purchasing, and I can let them know if there's a grievance case on any of them. It does happen where it will help a buyer make a decision on a property if they see that the taxes can be reduced. I mentioned my estimates are pretty conservative.
Okay.
In Nassau County, they'll know they're paying that higher tax bill for the first year. But I'm happy to help any buyers, and they can call me anytime. All I need is an MLS number or a property address.
Okay. So all information is out there for you. You can grab
Yeah.
it and go with it. So everything that you're telling me sounds, I don't want to say it sounds too good to be true, but it sounds a lot easier than what I would have thought our side of the process would be. I have to assume that What's going on in the background there?
Right. Well, a lot of people do think that if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. It's not. It really is a win. It creates a win situation for everyone. For someone who's selling their home, for a buyer will get more home for their money now. One thing that a lot of people don't think about is if we can reduce the property taxes $1,000 a year, that $1,000 amounts to about roughly $20,000 in a mortgage. So it does give a buyer more buying power.
Okay.
It will help the seller get more money for their home. So it really is a win situation for everyone. It is a bit more, the process on the back end behind the scenes is a bit more complicated. It's simple for someone to apply. It's a simple, either you have a case or you don't typically.
Okay.
Most of the time I can give a pretty definitive answer. There are a few times where I'll say, it's close, it's worth giving it a shot. We're going to do our best for you. But most of the time I can give a yes or no if there's a case. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of paperwork that gets processed on our end as far as building a case, looking for comps and trying to find a reason why we can argue for an assessment to be lower than it is. The towns don't want to give away money, revenue that they're receiving, so they're going to fight us on it. But we have a good relationship with the assessors, and they know that we do a good job and that we're fair and that we're doing the best for the homeowners. And so we're able to negotiate reductions we've saved a lot of, over $30 million, I think now for Long Island homeowners.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's great. How does somebody go about getting in touch with you?
So people can reach me on my direct line via calling or text. It's 516-361-0001. Our website is hellertaxgrievance.com. You can apply right on the website. And like I mentioned, it takes about a minute to complete an application. You'll receive a discount if they mention the Jeremy Ryan team. So we offer a discount that will save you some money that way. And you can also email me, Michele@HCGrieve, and I can usually get back to someone within a few minutes. If you text me with a property, about 15 minutes, I can give you an estimate on whether or not we can have a case there.
Well, that's great. And I wanted to thank you for coming out today and sharing a little bit of your knowledge and expertise into this area. I know it's an area that I've heard lots of questions about, and it hasn't been an area that I've always felt comfortable answering all of those questions. So again, thank you very much for coming out today. And if you have any questions, leave comments below or send us a message, and we will make sure that we answer those as quickly as we possibly can. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you.